Good morning. Good Saturday morning. Hi, Lauren. How are you? Oops, what is that? Oh, so weird. Oh, I have a crumb on my screen. I thought I saw something back there. How are you, Lauren? And whoever else is here. I know I came on a tiny bit earlier than I usually do. Trying to be a little bit more in time. Carolyn, good morning. How are you ladies doing? Crazy. That's what I feel like. I feel like sometimes the energetics of life seem a little bit more crazy than others. So thank goodness for yoga. And thank goodness for non-attachment to situations. That's what I'm going to say. So, okay, wait, sorry. So I don't have my right glasses on because I have issues with my contacts and my corneas. So I have glasses on that are not so great for reading. Can't bend down far enough anymore to get the golf ball out of the hole. Okay. So is that the knees or the hips that can't bend, Lauren? I'd love to know that because those are two joints that we really need to be able to bend in order to bend down. And I think that, we don't always learn how to bend properly. And so once we realize that the bending is really in the hip joint and the knee, but really the hip, then you start to free yourself up a little bit more. Knees and lower back. Okay. So then my question would be about the knees. Do you have a lot of arthritis? Do you have wear and tear in your knees? Are there some major issues in the knees that are going to have to be managed by a doctor, potentially knee replacement or something? So that would be something to take note of, because the knee is the biggest joint in the body and the number one weight bearing joint, and really takes a lot of wear and tear of life. So whether we were active in life with sports, but also I'm going to say it also takes the brunt of dysfunctional patterning that maybe we don't even realize we've had for years and years and years. And it could be that there was an injury or an issue, something that happened in the 20s or the 30s. And then we spend the next 30 years walking or behaving in a way that's actually wearing down slowly the coating around the knee joint. So I would say that that's a big thing about knee health. And then also making sure the musculature that moves and supports those joints is really strong. And then the connective tissue that support the joints is nice and limber. So I was going to focus today a lot on stretching the legs. And so we'll bring into this the joint functionality aspect. And then because this class I've called Managing Stress or Reducing Stress, thinking of that word stress and trying to uncover in our body where stress exists, where it is. So whether it's from issues or injuries or behavioral patterns. So that's a big thing too, is our patterns, the way we move. Good morning, Lynn, and maybe Dave. Nancy, good morning. Let me see. Nothing with the knees. They just didn't bend as well anymore. Arthritis and lower lumbar. Okay. All right. So then if it's a mobility issue, we can work on that. We could think of ourselves like the 10 people in the forest, and without those fluids in there for that lubrication, we're getting a little creaky in those joints. And just like the Tin Man, when Dorothy put the oil in there was more movement that came in. And then, of course, as we get older, that's par for the course. Ooh, there's a golf term for you. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Par for the course. What the heck? All right. I'm going to come back here and begin. So that's very interesting, right? Par for the course. par for the course, meaning that wherever you are in your life, whatever is going on, I mean, whatever, even life situations, different times in our lives, things are happening. So we maybe have more stress that we have to navigate or manage. And that becomes a challenge because I think it's really important for us to notice what's happening in our lives. And for me, yogic wisdom really helps me pull myself out of the game of life or realize that it is a game that I'm playing. So the times when things are more stressful and I'm sitting in it and feeling it, whether I feel it in my body or I experience it in my body, um, or I start to notice it in the layer of the mind, really just trying to understanding that we're a mind body complex, that stress, the word stress is so broad, and it could be actual physical stress that's in our body and in our tissues. It could be stress of life pressures that are affecting the way we're moving, behaving, and showing up every day. So that would be in the realm of self-care and how well you're taking care of yourself. So how well you're nourishing your body with good foods and hydration so that for joints to function, for body to function, that we have really good lifestyle habits so that we could function really well and healthy and happily. And then being able to discern stress at the layer of the mind and what do we need to participate in and how do we need to balance the stress that shows up in our minds, in our life. And that's a big one. I mean, that's something that we always learn about and need to manage and have trouble with maybe or not. So let's begin our practice really arriving. So I'm going to do the beginning meditation or the beginning shifting from human doings to human beings and the beginning guided breath work. I'm going to do it in a seated position today myself. And then you have that option if you would prefer to lie down. We're going to have our hands on our heart, our hand on our belly. And so for you, if you'd like to come into a position where you're on the ground and your head is supported, if you're feeling that you need that, to go ahead and lie down. And then for those that can sit upright and it feels comfortable. So that's where the hard part is the seated comfortable position. And it takes a little while to develop that, actually. You have to practice yoga a little bit, or the physical asana, to open up your hips, your lower body, and your knees to be able to sit in a comfortable position, and also strengthen the back muscles so that you're held upright as opposed to in a forward flex position. So you choose what's appropriate for you today. And before you go down for today's practice, we will be using a strap and a block, so have that handy. And then if you are going to do a seated position, having an extra blanket or even a little bolster to sit on can be really nice and supportive of the body. So I'm going to begin in my seated position. You choose what's appropriate for you. This is your practice. I'm here to share the wisdom, to guide you, to teach you some of what I know or all of what I know. And that's what I'm here for. And then you need to decide, how do you want your practice of yoga to be, your mind-body practice. So choose whatever you'd like. You could begin. Choose what you'd like. You could begin in a flat lying position, or you can come seated on something. And if you do choose the seated position, reach down and grab the flesh and take the flesh backwards so that you expose your pelvis. Because when you are seated, if you could sit and grow out of your spine, out of your pelvis, that's definitely better for the spinal position. And then wherever you are, if you're on the ground or if you're in a seated position, let's do a little bit to ground the mental energy and ground the physical energy by inhaling to open and exhale to close. Inhale, open. So the eyes could be closed at this point, going into the place of feeling. And once you do get yourself into a comfortable position, I would like you to come in to a position so that you could close your eyes. Because when we close our eyes, we actually see other things. We see, or rather we feel with our eyes, where we are in space, what's appropriate movement for your body, what issues may exist for you today or right now. what the quality of your breath is like. So when you close your eyes, you're able to go to another place. Inhaling to open the arms, exhale to close. See if you can start bringing in more stretch by unbending the elbows, letting your reach be a little wider, whether you're in a seated position or a supine on your back position. And then if you are in a seated position, you can get a little back bend to come in by opening the throat, looking up, even though the eyes are closed as you inhale. And if you are seated, you could feel the shoulder blades gliding along the back of your rib cage towards the spine. So just get whatever you can get to come into your body here. If you're on the ground, either let your legs be straight or the knees be bent. Find comfort. Let's do one more. Stay open. And then bring yourself to that nice upright seated position or lying flat. Hands are along the side of the body if you're on the ground, palms are up. And if you're seated, let's slide the palms backwards so the elbows come underneath the shoulders. And that helps to support the seated posture. Everyone bring your awareness to your pelvis. From your pelvis, bring your awareness to your spine. Beginning in the pelvis, the sacrum and the tailbone, the base of your spine, where the communication to the lower limbs branches off at this area. And then in actuality, we are one contained, connected unit. So even if there are pathways of blood vessels and nerves, the perception and the feeling aspect of the body is everywhere. So we feel and experience life with our entire body unit. Everything is connected. So feel your sacrum and your tailbone, known sometimes or referred to sometimes as a sacred bone. Because in the deeper aspects of philosophy of yoga, this is where your vital energy begins at the bottom of the spine, or exists or lies there. Your Kundalini Shakti energy resides in the base of the spine. So see how energetic you're feeling right now. Bringing your awareness to the base of your spine. Bring your awareness then up the spine to the lower back, the lower spine, the middle spine, and then the neck. Checking in. How are you feeling? Turning on the inner eyeballs to bring yourself inward to the inner environment. Noticing what you notice. Can you tell that digestion is taking place? That the cells are dividing, repairing all over your body? Can you feel your liver working, your pancreas, kidneys? We can't really discern or figure out those individual processes, yet all of that is taking place right now in you. Millions of processes. So a couple of deep breaths of gratitude for your body and the way it works. All the good things that are happening. All the cells that are regenerating. The communication up and down your body to sense, to feel, to know. Realizing that all of that is taking place. And then bring your hand onto your heart and your other hand onto your belly. So whatever hand you would like, left or right or left. So you can actually feel the movement, the sensations in your body. Begin to breathe to the chest. Try to breathe into the entire chest area. So you feel the upward movement, the backward movement, the side movement, and even the upward movement to the head. Feel yourself breathe. And then begin to bring the breath down to the belly. And feel and notice what you notice when you breathe to the belly. So we're going to do a little wave-like breath. We're going to begin at the lower belly area on the inhale to bring the breath into the body, and we're going to begin the exhale at the lower belly area as well, because the primary breathing muscle is the diaphragm. And everything begins with and ends with that muscle. And that's why we want to train ourselves to breathe, so that we breathe deeply and we breathe correctly using that primary breathing muscle. So let's prepare by taking a big exhale and then breathe into the hand on the belly and then up to the chest. Exhale from the hand on the belly and the hand on the chest. Feel it. Breathe to the belly, then the chest. Exhale, belly, chest. Inhale, belly, chest. Exhale, belly, chest. Inhale, belly, chest. Exhale, belly, chest. Inhale, belly, chest. Exhale, belly, chest. Take 5 more breaths at your pace, breathing into and out of your belly. When you finish that 5th breath, let your breath go back to your body. If you're in the seated position, you could take your hands down, place the palms onto the thighs. Let the elbows be underneath the shoulders to help support your posture. Let's all take 1 more breath. Bring your awareness to your eyes. Begin to gently blink your eyes open. If you're on the ground, go ahead and bring your knees into your chest. And if you're in the seated position, take your legs nice and long. Stretch your legs long. And then we're all going to go down onto the ground to warm our bodies up. So go ahead and move whatever it is you had off to the side. For those that are on the ground, knees are into the chest. For those that were seated, let's come down onto the ground. Bring your hand all the way down and come all the way down. And then let's all take our legs, bend our knees, put our feet flat on the mat. Take your blanket that's behind your head up so that you have your head and neck supported. It's really important to take care of ourselves, to keep our body mobile, and to make sure that the cobwebs that develop with age, just like an attic, do not settle in your tissues, because eventually those cobwebs become hard and stiff, and they'll limit the range of motion in the joints. So this awareness that as we age, just like an attic that people don't go in, the cobwebs develop more and more and more. We need to actively break up the cobwebs. So that we'll call those cobwebs stress, right? That's one facet of stress, is cobwebs. So let's take the arms to the side. Now, getting rid of the cobwebs in the shoulder joint here, in the muscles of the chest and the muscles of the shoulders. Arms to the side stretches those tissues. So depending on where you are, I'd like you to explore. Let's all see if we could take our arms straight. Now, modifications need to be made for those of you with issues in your tissues. For those of you that have rotator cuff tears or issues in your shoulders, see what's going on. And then some of those issues we have are cobwebs that got hard, that hardened, scar tissue, bone spurs, osteophytes. So we can move ourselves and try to move and dislodge some of this stuff and bring more mobility into our body, because that's going to really reduce stress in terms of movement in our body. And when we can move our body, that can also manage mental, emotional stress as well. So take your arms really wide here, and then let's try to bend the elbows by dragging the hands on the ground. So bending the shoulder joint, which is going to have an effect of, bending the elbow joint, which is actually going to translate up into your shoulder. So see what you have available to you here. This is a really great way to keep the shoulders healthy, but also for those of you with shoulder issues to start exploring where you can move and maybe start to break up or soften some of the tissues that are becoming a little sticky or hard. So really getting some more mobility in your shoulders. And then bring yourself to wherever you can, where your back of your hand is on the floor and your palms are up towards the sky. Now be okay with this, because I'll tell you in my experience that our egos come to the practice with us, and everybody wants to bend their elbow a lot and have their arms high. That seems to be, and so what it looks like is this: hands are off the floor, hands are closer to the body, trying so hard to get that bend in the elbow and maybe even the elevation in the arm. I want you to do what's safe for you, what's appropriate for you. So if you could come into a right angle, great. And if you can't, that's great too. So come wherever you can. Let's take an exhale as we draw our elbows down towards our waist, and then inhale to bring your arms up. And exhale down. Now, whatever range of motion you have, do. Whatever you can get here, try. And be in your shoulders, especially if you have issues. If you have tears and the integrity of your shoulder is not holding that humerus bone in the joint really well, or if you have whatever, tightness issues, kind of explore here what's available for you. And I want this upper body to be nice and open. So when we mobilize our lower body, we'll even get more movement, and especially be able to get a lot more stretch in the low back area. Then I want you to come to a static hold, and then push your arms into the floor. Push your arms into the floor and lift your rib cage away from the floor. Slide your shoulder blades back towards the spine. Let the shoulder blades be on the back of the body, because for many of us throughout the day, they're living on the side of the body, not where they belong. So lift yourself up and slide your shoulder blades really far so that they're close to the spine. And then bring your arms out to the side. Exhale, bring your elbows down. Inhale to bring your arms up. You may experience more clinging and clanging of the bones as they glide along the rib cage, or you may feel more a little higher or not.
the thing that's happening here is we're helping to remove stress from the upper back, neck, and shoulder area. And the stress from sitting, the stress from forward movement, which is what happens all the time for most of us. Now, for me, I hear a lot of bones moving because I have some upper spinal rotation, a little scoliosis. So I hear, it doesn't hurt, but I hear the movement right here on the right side where that curve is. I know that it's not such a smooth transition. It doesn't hurt. I feel some stretching. I feel more stretch on the right side than the left because that's where I have my tightness and my issues. So just explore what you have. And then I want you to come into a position where your upper arm bone is reaching away from your body. For those that can be right off the shoulder joint, try that. And then for some of you, you may need to be a little lower because that'll be too much of a stretch. And then the forearm, the farther away the forearm is from the body, the less pressure and pull will happen in the shoulder. So find your appropriate place. And then once you get here, shoulder blades are on the floor, rib cage is on the floor, and arms are on the floor. And we're going to start to move the lower body. This is going to stretch the low back, the abdominal area. So for those of you with low back issues, this is going to take some of the stress, the muscular held tension stress out of the muscles of the lower trunk, which can translate to release of stress in the low back. So the palms are up. Let your arms be nice and relaxed. Soles of the feet are on the ground. Let's do a little marching here. A little march, march, march. And then let the leg come in a little higher and a little higher. A little higher. Now see what you feel here. Notice if your pelvis tilts side to side when you do this, right? You feel the sacrum where the spine is. You feel the tailbone. And then when you lift one leg up at a time, there's a stabilizing quality that the body has to do in order to do this. And then go a little closer to your chest. Maybe you'll feel hip flexors. Maybe you'll feel knee. I don't know. We're all different. And then bring yourself back to a static hold. Take one leg straight, lengthen that leg, and then bend that leg. Take the other leg straight, and then bend. So you could see these movements. We're going to inhale to lengthen, and then you exhale to bend. Let breath be a part of this. Inhale and exhale. Notice what you notice. Make your foot really strong so the heel is reaching away like crazy. The toes are pulling towards you when you come to straight legs. And then legs are bent. So think of this, we're taking the stress out of the joints. We're clearing the cobwebs in the joints. Take your feet a little wider than your body, not all the way to the width of the mat. Keep the soles of the feet on the floor and start to let the knees go side to side, side to side. So when we lengthen the legs, we were stretching the psoas. The psoas attaches to the low back. It's the muscle that attaches the upper and lower body. So we're locking in our upper body here. Shoulder blades are on the floor. Rib cage is on the floor. Arms are on the floor. And now we're trying to mobilize the lower body, which is going to stretch the muscles of the core and the low back, the whole middle trunk area. So feel your sacrum on the floor. You're not tilting off the floor. You feel your sacrum, you feel your tailbone. And then bring yourself back to center. So this is small work because the muscles that we're actually mobilizing and stretching are probably the size of your pinky, or maybe even shorter than your pinky. So you really don't have to move a lot to actually stretch these muscles or even contract and release these muscles. Let's take the feet now as wide as the mat. And then you're going to go with the soles of the feet on the floor still. Soles of the feet around the floor. Let your knees go side to side. Keep the soles of the feet on the floor. Keep the sacrum in the floor. Sacrum and the soles of the feet. And then let one leg move at a time. One goes in, one is out. One lifts up, one comes back. So you move one leg at a time. And then bring yourself back to center. Take your feet wide, all the way wide. Let one leg go in, let your foot stay on the floor. You're going to feel a pretty strong stretch, the top of that leg bone. And then let that leg bone come up, let the other leg go in. Soles of the feet are on the floor. Notice your range of motion here. Notice where you feel it when you come in. So going slower and smaller movements in the practice is harder. It's harder mentally because we usually bulldoze through things or go fast through things or go without thinking. And so we are actually repatterning some of the brain activity here. And that's why it becomes more challenging. Keep the soles of the feet on the floor. Let one knee go in at a time. Now let one knee go in, let one knee stay there. Keep that sole on the floor. Notice where you feel this. We're doing a lot here to stretch that hip. Now I'm going to tell you that I actually felt a release all the way up to my ear on this side of my body because we are one connected unit. So even if we're down there, even if it feels subtle, there's release of tension happening somewhere in your body, a stress release somewhere, a pressure valve releasing. Go ahead and bring that knee up. Let's take the other knee in. Feel the stretch. And then bring yourself back up to center. The feet are really wide here. We're going to go and allow the soles of the feet to come off the floor. So let's inhale to the left. Let the soles of the feet come off. You're on the right toe, big toe edge. You're on the left baby toe edge. Inhale. Exhale, contract your core and bring yourself back up to center. Inhale, let your legs go to the right. Exhale, contract your core, let yourself come back to center. Now close your eyes. Inhale to the left. Feel the buttocks on the floor and then feel the right buttock not touching the floor and the left buttock is touching a lot. Exhale, push your belly button to your spine. Inhale over to the right. Feel how the right buttock presses into the floor. The left buttock is not pressing into the floor or less pressure. Exhale back to center. Keep your awareness in your buttocks as you feel the pressure moving to one buttock and then the other. So you stay a little bit more in your hips here and you don't go into your low back. You exhale to rise, you inhale to come into the stretch. See what's appropriate for you as you move side to side and you feel where the stretch is in your body. Notice if it's the same on both sides. Stretching the pathway and the communication from brain to feet. So for helping balance be stronger and more communicative, this is important. For hip joint health, which will also let the pelvis be in a better position, which will translate to the knee, which is below, and the low back, which is above. So when we take the pressure and release the stress in individual areas, it actually has an effect on other joints. We call them the neighbors, the neighbor above, the neighbor below. The next time that your legs come over to the left, stay there. Let your legs go to the left, let your head go to the right. And then lift your right hand off the floor just a little. Stretch, stretch, stretch your whole entire right side. See if you could feel that stretch in between the waist and the rib cage. Create space in your midsection. Take one more breath. And then exhale, belly button to spine, bring yourself back up to center. Let's slowly allow the knees to go over to the right. Let the head go to the left. And lift the left hand off the floor just a little. Stretch that left side body, especially in between the ribs and the pelvis. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back to center. Bring your knees in. Let's take the knees into the chest. Bring one in. Feel that low back side starting to move towards the floor. Then bring the other leg in. And then rock side to side across the top of your pelvis. Take your arms either back to where they were or down alongside your body. And then let's unbend and bend the knees. Unbend and bend the knees. And then let's try to look at proper function. So as you do this, there's going to be core work here, which will affect the low back. So those that are pretty tight or have not too strong of a core, the closer your knees are to your chest, the better this will be for you. Even if that knee still stays bent, you're still going to get the hamstring to be moving. For those that are a little stronger, have a little bit more flexibility and range of motion, a little less cobwebs in the body, you can come where your knees are directly above your pelvis. And the goal here is to look at your leg as it unbends. Does it do a move, like a swish swish movement, or is it a straight movement in that joint? And then notice if there is any pain or discomfort, any creakiness that you hear or experience. And then I want you to look at your feet when your feet come up. Can you see the inner edge of your heel? And I want you to move in such a way that you don't. So that if your foot was to go to the ceiling right away and there was ink on your feet and they were going to put a footprint on the ceiling, your footprint would be perfect. Heel, ball, and toe, the whole foot. So just look at that. And then let's do both legs at the same time. Stretching the back of the legs, working the quadriceps, really important for healthy aging. Hip flexors are working here, core is working here. So for this lower part of your body, even though we're not standing up on it, we're working the lower part of our body. And the lower part of the body is necessary for healthy aging. The next time you come to a straight position, come straight or as straight as you can get. So for some of you, you may be here and your quads are probably burning right now. Mine are. So stay with it if you can. And if not, that's okay. But know that when you feel this burning like this, you're doing muscular work. And when you make more muscle tissue, it makes the bones stronger. It's more supportive of the joints, the knee in this case and the hip in this case. And then low back, because the hip flexors are attached to low back, you've got that happening as well. And now we're going to stretch the ankle joint by inhaling to point, exhale to flex, inhale to point, exhale to flex. One more inhale, exhale. Notice how your feet move. All right. So see, because there's communication of nerves telling the muscles what to do. So notice, is it a smooth move in your ankle when your foot goes to straight? Do they both move at the same pace? Can you see some parts of one foot and not the other? Just notice that in yourself. We all have asymmetry. And now let's do circles, big circles. Because if you stop and slow down and take the time out to get really familiar with this package that you live in, then you can actually start to clear the cobwebs, to remove the stress of either build up or muscular tension. And when you could do that, it's going to make you happier in life, because we need this to function. We really need our package that we show up in to be functional. So let's do one more circle. and then go in the other direction if you haven't switched directions. Now I'm starting to feel heat in the muscles that mobilize my ankle joint because we've done a decent amount of circles and I'm doing the biggest range of motion I can have happen in my body. And I feel my ankle muscles are working. And then go ahead and bring your knees into your chest. Remember, these are smaller muscles. It doesn't take big moves to make that happen. Yet it's going to be so lovely for you to have this happen. All right. So let's go ahead and take our strap. Let's do a little more stretch since we have all of that synovial fluid in the joints, all that blood flowing through those muscles. Draw the right leg in, bend the right leg. I'd like you to touch the big toe, the second toe, the third, and the fourth. And if this is hard for you right now, I want you to take your blanket and I want you to double the fold of your blanket. Okay? So if you're not able to fully get a hold of your toes, double your blanket or make it bigger, because that will be helpful when you stretch and not put extra pressure on your back or your abdomen, your core. And then let's take our strap, put our strap on our foot, and I want you to floss your foot. So go back and forth, side to side, so you actually feel heat, and go all the way down to the ankle, all the way down to the ankle, all the way up the middle of the arch. This is where the energetics, the nadis in yoga, I said that our energy resides in the base of our spine, our Kundalini Shakti, that's where it resides. The nadis or the energies, there's 72,000 that some texts say. And they begin in the soles of the feet and then they terminate in the nostrils. So let's wake up our feet and squish whatever's hanging out in the sole of the foot back into the system. Take your strap in the center of your leg, draw your hands down, and then up to you if you want a straight leg. If you have a straight knee joint here, you'll be pulling on bones when you stretch, and that'll help to stimulate bone growth. And then if you have a knee bent, you're closer to the center of the belly of the muscle. So you decide whatever is appropriate for you. Let's go ahead and take the leg back. Feel the stretch behind your leg in an appropriate way. Pulling that strap down. Feel that buttock grounding in the ground. And then take one more breath. Keep that leg in the strap. Hold on to the strap in one hand. So if your right foot is up, you hold on to the right strap. And then for some of you, because you don't have a lot of range of motion, having the block here to take the weight of the leg when you go to the side. Now make sure you're going to the side. So what happens is everyone thinks they have to get to the ground. So they come right about here and then they can't, the stretch doesn't really happen anymore and the leg goes forward. And the leg goes forward, 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 and goes onto the ground. And actually, that's not really good for your back. That's not good for the back. So what you really want is that the leg goes straight out to the side the whole time. If you have enough range of motion to open your legs wider, you'll go closer. But for some of you, having the block there to hold the weight of the leg would be really helpful. So you can appropriately stretch your leg. Leg is moving up towards the wall behind you. Waist on that side is nice and long. Couple of breaths here. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back up to center. If the other leg is straight, bend it. You don't want to put extra pressure on your low back. So even the way we move will affect the low back. And I think for people with low back issues, notice if you move with your legs straight or when you come on the ground, you put your legs straight. Notice all of that because the psoas that's attached to the low back attaches to the inner leg. And so it really is important for you to understand how you're moving. Bring your left knee in and see if you can touch the toes. And if you can't, then move your blanket. Notice one side versus the other. And then take the strap and place the strap on the left foot, and then start your flossing here. Get everything nice and warm. And then go ahead and put your hand on the strap, wrap your hands around, bring the strap down, pull that leg down into the socket, and then lengthen the right leg. So one thing I like to say too is that because we are one connected unit, you may actually have feet issues that are showing up in your shoulder or your low back or your upper back and neck. So because we are a connected unit, wherever the tension is showing up is not always where the tension begins. And so when you do work with your feet or your legs and you do a lot of body stretching, it actually can release tension in places where you have issues. Low back being one of them. All right, so you're gonna either, the leg is going back towards the wall with the leg straight or the knee bent, whatever's appropriate for you. Feel an appropriate stretch for you in your body. There's been more research and understanding of the hamstring muscle, which is behind the top thigh. It was believed to be a part of what bends the knee and moves the knee. But there's last couple of years, my chiropractor told me this, that there's more understanding of the hamstring and the stability of the pelvis, which is then going to translate to the spine. So having this muscle nice and limber is good for a lot of clearing of the cobwebs and functional patterns in the body. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's take the hands in the strap. Take the leg out to the side in whatever's appropriate for you. Block there if you need it or not. So go to where you feel a stretch. And then you're not just hanging out there. Always work when you're in it. Moving the leg up towards the wall, pressing the straight leg into the ground, pressing the sacrum into the ground, lengthening your waist so you're not shortening in the waist area. And then take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring your leg up. I'd like to stretch take the strap off. I'd like to stretch the outer hip joint. So let's do it like this. We're gonna take the right leg over the left so that there's no space whatsoever. Now we're gonna be stretching this part of the hip. And so I would like you to keep your pelvis on the floor. I don't want this to be this. This is not me trying to get to the ground and all of this part of me lifting off the floor, because then you're in a different rotational plane or you're in different parts of your body. This is rib cage and arms stay on the ground. And then as you inhale, when the legs go to the left, think about being nice and long in this right waist. Feel your pelvis on the floor. Feel the left buttock taking most of the weight. Feel this top right leg pushing away from you. As you push away with length and let it go over towards the left. And then exhale to bring yourself back up to center. Inhale, push the right leg away from you with the muscles in your body. And at the same time, lengthening over to the left, really stretching the tissue of the hip and maybe even the midsection. And then exhale back to center. One more time, inhale and stay. Stay there. Push that top leg away and then let your head look to the right. Try to keep the right lower ribs pushing towards the floor. So the right lower ribs are pushing towards the floor. You feel that stretch in your right side somewhere. Breathe to this right side body. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's uncross the legs, put the left leg on top of the right. I would say that when we stretch our body, there's maybe in the moment it feels kind of intense, but this is what usually makes me feel the best after a yoga practice, a physical asana practice, is when I stretch my body. I seem to have like a less, I don't really have discomfort in my body, but I just feel so much more mobile. And that's what people tell me is they feel better after they stretch. Okay, so first let's initiate this by pushing that top left leg away from you. So that's a deep internal moving away from you or lengthening on the left side. Take an exhale. And then inhale, move the leg over to the right, towards the right. Exhale, firm up your core to come back to center. Inhale, with length, over to the right. And then back to center. One more. You're going to inhale, push that top thigh away, move the leg away from you, stay here, and then let your head look to the left. Breathe to the left side body. Take one more breath. And then with your next exhale, bring yourself back up to center. Let's draw the knees into the chest. Move side to side. Let's go ahead and roll all the way onto the side, whatever side you'd like. Take your hands, push your hands into the floor, and then lift yourself up off the floor. Bring your blanket onto your mat. Okay, so you're going to come onto all fours, and then let's move around in our joints here. So move around in your shoulder and in your hip. You could do big circles if that feels appropriate for you, although for some of you, the wrists might not like when you come forward like this. So even if you stay back here, you could roll around in your hip joint and in your shoulders, not put very much weight into your wrists, or you can go forward and back, whatever. And then let's come into a puppy dog to stretch our body here. So arms are straight and forward, forehead touches the floor. Try to keep your arms straight. Tushy is in the air. Come into this, the forehead touches the floor, and then push the left elbow towards the floor and the left shoulder. And then move away and then push the right shoulder or the right armpit towards the floor. So the armpit goes towards the floor on one side and then on the other. Lots of deep stretching taking place in the shoulder. Feel that. And then bring yourself back to center. Push your chest towards the ground. Lengthen your spine here from tailbone to the crown of the head. Take one more breath. And then let's bring yourself all the way up. Take your hands underneath you. If you need to modify by putting your forearms on the ground, try that. Let's slide the right hand forward, left leg back. Exhale. Inhale. Reach up, look up, bring a back bend into your spine so you stretch that front body. And then exhale, draw the knee towards the elbow. Now, if you have osteoporosis, only move the leg and not the arm. So if you have osteoporosis, keep your arm where it is and bring your knee in. Okay, and if you don't have osteoporosis, you could bring the elbow towards the knee. And that's because you don't want to put pressure on the front of the spine if you have osteoporosis. So bringing flexion into lower lumbar, okay, with osteoporosis. Keep moving here. Push your fingertips of your left hand into the ground. Yes, you're weighting a lot on that elbow, or actually on that palm, on that wrist. One more. Come into a open position. Stay here. Make your back neck nice and long. Reach your left leg high. Reach your right arm high. Strengthening your back here, strengthening your posterior chain. Push your left fingertips into the floor. Take one more breath. And then let's go ahead and put the right hand down. Let's slide the left hand away, slide the right leg away. Take an exhale. Inhale, add a back bend here. And then exhale, either elbow and knee touch or towards touching, or just the left or just the right leg comes in if you have osteoporosis. And if you have osteoporosis, you keep the left arm out and you just move the right knee. Really stretch your body. Push your right fingers into the floor. One more. Stay up. Keep your neck nice and long. Lift your right leg. Lift your left arm. Take one more breath. And then go ahead. Bring yourself up. Shake your arms. So come here on top of your lower legs. Let's move our pelvis around in a circular pattern in one direction and then in the other. And then a lateral movement here. So whenever we do this side movement here, what we're doing is here's the spine. I want to stretch the spine, opening up the side of the spine. So really think about this side of your body is what's happening, and it's inside you, right? So you have 7 vertebrae here, 12 here, and then 5 in the low back. So it's the side of your spine that you're trying to stretch open. And as you can imagine, there's not a lot of range of motion there. So this is not about how far over do I go. This is how can I take this spine, reach up and over, and then bring your hands back. Reach up and over, up and over. And then for some of you with shoulder issues, maybe doing this is a better thing for you. Let your elbow or your hand stay alongside your body as you lengthen. Lengthen. And let it be right beside you. Feel that stretch right around here. And then one more, each side. And then bring yourself back center. Let's do a little rotational movement here. So let's start with the head. Hands, put your hands here on your hips. And then just your head look side to side. So stretching the upper back and neck, clearing the cobwebs from the upper back and neck. Maybe you hear some crunchy stuff. This is when snap, crackle, and pop show up. I definitely feel stuff there. Lots of cobwebs in the neck and the upper back area. And then bring yourself back to center. We're gonna go a little bigger now. So you could look at your hand. You can imagine there's a mirror in the back of your hand and look at your hand as you come into this. Keep your hand like, well, I'd like it to be pretty high here, although not if shoulders will not let you. So you're looking at this the whole time. Your face stays in alignment with this so that you're adding rotation. Feel your low ribs moving away from your pelvis when you do this. This is why I want you to have your hand a little higher. And the low body is locked in here. So the low back is getting stretched here. Make sure it's appropriate for you. And then one more each side. And then bring yourself back to center. For those of you that could stretch your feet and sit on top of your feet, do that. For those of you that can't, that's okay. Let's take our hands and shake our hands. So you're either up here or you're here. Shake, shake, shake. Okay,
So we're gonna go down on the ground again, but before we do, I wanna take anything that came up today so far or give you this tool because I think it's really important for stress. We're going to come up here and we're gonna do 3 of these. We're gonna grab and release. We're gonna grab tension because we are consumers and what we see, what we think, what we hear, we bring into ourselves, right? We're consuming information. We're consuming the way someone looked at us or what we just saw on news or what we heard or what someone said to us. That comes into us, right? That's consuming. We need to digest it. And when we do all of this movement, we create all of this, the metabolism of movement. We're digesting some of that. And then also when we check ourselves before we wreck ourselves, when we think about, oh wait, do I need to react like that? Or should I be a duck? Whenever that comes into it, that's helping to digest. Then we need to release or eliminate. Okay, so this is the elimination. So 3 of them. I want you to gather, whether it's something that's going on in your life right now that you fret about or worry about, whatever it is, you could put a label to it or not. Gather, and then hold it tight, hold. And then the biggest whoosh you could do, really release that. Gather the stuff that's really low that you shouldn't even be bugging about. The stuff on this side that you really should not be bothered by, or even on this side that you should be bothered by. Hold it, take a big inhale. One more. Grab yesterday, grab years ago, grab things that don't even matter, that'll never be here again, that have nothing to do with you anymore, that you worry about, you fret about, you spend your time with, thinking about right behind you, the stuff that's in your low back. Grab all that stuff that's putting pressure in your body. Grab, and then hold it, take a big inhale. And then close your eyes. So come to sit on your heels if your knees will let you. If not, stay up and spread your legs a little wider so you feel real nice and stable. Close your eyes, go into your heart. Feel your heartbeat, feel that activity. So when we do that grab and release, that whoosh, it extends the exhale. It helps to eliminate toxins from your body. Toxins that we could see in a microscope. Toxins that are a result of thought patterns or stress. And then go ahead and bring your awareness to your eyes as you allow your eyes to open. And then let's come down onto the ground. So go ahead, get your blanket ready. Have your block nearby. And then we're going to bring ourselves down onto the ground. Coming down, I'd like you to feel yourself right now. Feel your body, see how it feels. My body feels pretty good right now. My heart's still a little accelerated from that. Generally, overall, I feel pretty good in my body. Draw the knees in. This can be nice and releasing and relieving for low back. Feel that. And then put your feet down onto the ground. So let's take the block. Let's do a little bridge flow. Now, a bridge is a back bend, right? It's a back bend. We're actually opening the front of the spine here. We're pushing away from the ground with our lower body and our upper body. And that is going to turn on the muscles of the back. So I want you to determine here, does your bridge need to be more flowing and need to be more gentle and maybe not so high of a lift? Or would you like to really introduce a huge back bend and allow the front of your spine to open and really stretch the front of the back, the front of the body, and strengthen the back of the body? So you need to make this your own.
Let's take the blanket away from the back of the head, or if you know you're not going to come up very high, meaning you're not going to really lift up past the low ribs, and you're not going to be putting too much downward pressure, you can have a thin fold of the blanket. So I'd like you to choose what your bridge flow is going to look like today. So either no blanket or a little bit. Feet could be where they go. So when the block is between your legs, you could do this. So the feet are where they go. And we're all going to start off where we're going to release upper back and neck and shoulder. So for all of us, we're going to have our feet where they go, and then we're going to walk them away about 6 inches. Take your arms down alongside your body. Lift your upper back up. Slide your shoulder blades towards your spine. Lengthen the back of the neck. Tuck the chin down towards the chest. We're going to begin with the left arm. Take a big exhale. Squeeze the block. Flatten the low back. Squeeze the tushy. Inhale to lift the left arm up. Let the head roll to the right as much as you can. You're only lifting off to about the lower ribs, and then you slowly exhale to lower. Inhale, right arm, squeeze the tushy. Begin with a flat low back so you could peel yourself up and down off the floor, and you're actually moving the spine through an unwinding and a bending and unbending of the spine. And you're going to feel this a lot in the tushy and in the lower legs. Little release in the shoulder, upper back, and neck. Starting to warm up that lower spine. Let's do one more to each side. You inhale to lift. You exhale to lower. You inhale to lift. And you exhale to lower. Come back to center. Walk your feet closer. We're going to come a little higher now. Lengthen the back of the head. Slide the shoulder blades back onto the spine. Arms stay down alongside your body. And then tuck the edges of your outer arms under you more. Let's squeeze the block. Feet are closer to your body. Begin by flattening the low back, squeezing the block, squeezing the tushy. Take an exhale. And then inhale. Peel your spine up, up, up. Exhale, place the spine back down on the ground. Try to undulate through the whole spine from the tailbone, beginning with the inhale, flattening the low back, squeezing the tushy, squeezing the block, pushing away from the floor, lengthening, lengthening, lengthening the front of the body. Exhale to lower. Go slow here. Close your eyes. Feel yourself unwinding, releasing tension, mobilizing your spine. On your next one, I want you to stay up. Squeeze the block, push away from the floor, squeeze the tushy, peel your spine away. When you get as high as you're going to go, slide the shoulder blades closer to the spine, press the arms into the ground, and lift your rib cage away from the floor as much as you can. Lengthen the back neck, tuck the chin towards the chest. Let the weight go into the upper back area. Squeeze the block, squeeze the tushy. Push away from the ground. Take one more breath. And then slowly, slowly, slowly try to place the upper spine on the ground first. When you come towards the bottom of the spine, lift the heels off. See if you could get the low back to touch first. This actually lengthens the low back, brings it into flexion. Bring your head onto the blanket, not very thick of a fold, thin fold. And then let's take the block underneath the pelvis. Let the top edge of the pelvis rest on the block. And then you can actually get a stretch here in your low back. So if you place your pelvis on the block and you let the top edge of your pelvis be on the block, you could actually lift your rib cage away from the floor and lengthen it away from you towards the head area. And feel that. And then slide your shoulder blades towards each other so you don't cave in on your heart area. Feel that support of the block. And then so the stretch here is low back, stretching the low back. We're also giving the heart a break here. Now, if you had uncontrolled high blood pressure, this would not be advisable. It's counterindicated if you have unmanaged high blood pressure. But if you have managed high blood pressure with medications, this is okay. It's an inversion, helps to calm the mind, calm the body, and it's actually great for lowering blood pressure, giving the heart a little break. If you want a little extra, you could take your heel of your hand onto your hip bones, pressing your hip bones into the block. You'll feel the activation of the shoulder blade area, supportive of the upper spine. 3 more breaths. So we're going to come into the Shavasana. And if you wanted to stay here, you could stay here in Shavasana. Or you could lift your pelvis off the floor, bring your knees into your chest, and bring yourself down onto the ground if that's what you'd like. So whatever you're going to do, find it in your body and come into your Shavasana. Let everything relax. Let go, let go, let go.
고빈데 모간데 우다레야 바레 아리양 카리양 내 맘에야 가메 고빈데 모간데 우다레야 바레 아리양 카리양 내 맘에야 가메 고빈데 모간데 우다레야 바레 아리양 카리양 내 맘에 가메 고빈데 모간데 우다레야 바레 아리양 가리양 내 맘에야 가메 고빈데 모간데 우다레야 바레 아리양 가리양 내 맘에야 가메 고빈데 모간데 우다레야 바레 아리양 카리양 내 맘에 가메 고빈데 모간데 우다레야 바레 아리양 카리양 내 맘에 가메 Mukande Udare Apare Hariyam Kariyam Viname Akame Govinde Mukande Udare Apare Hariyam Kariyam Viname Akame Govinde Mukande Udare Apare Hariyam Kariyam Viname Akame Govinde Mukande Udare Apare Hariyam Kariyam Viname Akame.
Begin to deepen the breath. If your body is on a block, walk your feet a little closer to you. Push your feet into the floor. Take the block out from under. Lengthen your back as you bring yourself down onto the ground and draw your knees into your chest. Rolling onto your side. Bringing yourself up to a seated position.
Hands are together at the chest. Checking in with how you're feeling. Your pelvis, your spine, shoulders, head. We're going to close with sound, doing a sound. So let's begin by taking a big exhale to create space. Big inhale. Bowing. In gratitude, in namaste. So, I hope that your body feels good and stretched and lengthened, and that you're able to clear cobwebs, because we've got to keep the cobwebs not growing, and we've got to keep everything moving so we can be happy in this body of ours. So, oh, hi, Martha. Thank you, Martha. Pat. Hi, Pat. Okay. I'm starting to want to golf again, Lauren. I used to golf, but I haven't for a while, but I'm craving it. So I'm going to get back to golf. So I'm going to need my knees to bend too. All right. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you feel good. And I am off, and I will see you all next week. Right? You're welcome, Carolyn. All right. Anyway, bye, everyone. Have a great weekend. See you when I see you. All right. Bye-bye.